Hello, this is Elliot from ETJ English. Now, in most English-speaking cultures, especially in British culture, we really hate silence. It makes us feel awkward and uncomfortable. So we consider ourselves to be naturally born with an amazing skill, which is known as small talk. And this is literally the art of talking about nothing. You can talk about anything. You just have to think of the first thing that comes into your head and start talking about it. But in this video, I'm kind of going to touch on the subject of small talk. I have done a video about this before, but this is more involved in keeping a conversation going, keeping an English conversation going. So how do we do this? Well, let me explain. Imagine somebody is talking to you and they're telling you a story. You don't know what to say. You're worried about what you're going to say next. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is don't think too much about what you're going to say. Think more about what they are saying. So let's say somebody is telling you a story, or they're telling you about their dog. Say they have a pet dog. And they're talking about it. They're telling a story of one time when they were walking their dog and something happened. A good way to keep the conversation going and avoid that awkward silence is by asking questions. Questions are the most powerful thing you can use to keep a conversation going. You could ask them what breed the dog is. You could ask them how old the dog is. You could ask them what color the dog is. There's so many questions you can ask. Don't ask too many because they'll think you're trying too hard and it might be a bit weird that you're asking so many questions about a dog. But you know, in any situation, just ask a few questions. Whatever comes into your head, anything you want to know about the story, just think of a question and then they'll talk some more and then there might be another opportunity for another question after that. So questions open up conversations and they can turn them into other conversations about different topics. So always bear in mind that you need to have some good ideas of questions to ask. So let's say maybe you've run out of questions to ask now, or you've asked too many already. Then maybe what they've been talking about you can relate to with a story of your own, something related to this. You can just come out with a story and start talking about it. To get your own stories, you need to think beforehand, before you have a conversation. Think about some good stories you can tell people when you want to practice your English. And practice telling them to yourself. And then when it comes to the time when you need to tell someone a story or you want to make someone laugh with a funny story of something that's happened to you, then you'll have that story ready, stored in your brain, and you'll be ready to tell that whenever the time comes. The most important thing is just to relax. Don't think too much, like I said at the beginning of the video. There's something we say in the English language which is just to go with the flow, which essentially means whatever happens, happens. Just let things play out, let things happen, and then you'll be able to speak how you want to speak. A good tip with having any English conversation, but especially with British people, a very, very common way that we avoid silence is by simply talking about the weather. Whatever the weather is, that's always a good starting point to start a friendly conversation with someone. Another great way to learn English is by watching the news or reading the news. And by doing this, you'll be learning English when you're actually watching or reading the news. But then when it comes to having a conversation, you're actually going to have some useful information which you can talk about to keep a conversation going. Let's say you learned something in the news the night before you have a conversation with an English speaker. That's something already that you can talk about because you learnt about it and it's happening right now. Most people in England, America, Australia, everywhere that speaks English, just like most other countries, we like to keep up with the news. We like to stay up to date with the news. So it's always a good talking point. We like to express our opinions. So when you're learning the news, also think about what you think, what you believe, and what your views are on this piece of news so that when it comes to talking about it with someone, you know what to say. So those are some basic ways of just keeping a conversation going. In my Skype lessons, I do go a bit more into detail with my students about how to have a great conversation in English. But I can't give you all the information on here because it would take too long and it requires, a conversation between two people. So if you would be interested in doing this, you can go and click on the link in the description below and you can book a Skype lesson with me and start improving your English now. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Playing sports or playing in the playground, you can also play on a PlayStation, play on a computer game. That's playing when you take part in something